Well, you already are a co-host.
I don't see it. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Can they stop sharing their screen? Like whoever's sharing their screen, just stop.
Oh, yeah.
Armando, yeah.
How do I stop share? Yep.
Boom,
Okay.
I did it for you because I'm host. You already are a
Perfect.
co-host.
I don't.
Okay, are we starting? Okay, let's start, friends. Jolie, take it away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunrise Howard County Earth Day live stream. Today, we are having multiple groups in this live stream. But first, I would like to explain what Earth Day Live is. To celebrate Earth Day, which was yesterday, Sunrise is hosting a 3-day live stream. The future that millions protested on the streets for 50 years ago on Earth Day hasn't come, so we are following in their footsteps. Only this time, we aren't giving up. We demand the People's Bailout, a Green New Deal, and land back for Indigenous peoples. This bailout, the People's Bailout, focuses mostly on a current problem of employment caused by COVID-19. Many are suffering, and we demand that the government provide their economic needs. After immediate relief on the suffering, we want the government to set our country on a path towards sustainability instead of pollution. To do this, we present the Green New Deal, a vision to put our country back to work while solving climate change and ensuring justice for frontline communities. Time is running out until climate change will be irreversible, so we need this now. Finally, we would like our government to acknowledge the rights of Indigenous tribes and give them sacred land back before it becomes polluted forever. Today, we are fighting to stop the money pipeline created by fossil fuels. In our earlier live stream today, speakers like Basa Sen explained the connection between banks, financiers, and other large corporations that fund the fossil fuel industry. Our presenters for this live stream will teach us where to go from here by introducing climate solutions. Now that I've explained why we're here, I'll pass it on to the performers. First up, we have Lori Rosenthal explaining what an introduction to Drawdown is.
Great. Thank you, Julie, and good evening. Are you able to see me all right? Is everybody able to see me all right, Jolie? Or
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Well, good evening. I am here to talk to you about a workshop called Drawdown. And Drawdown gives us hope. It's a workshop about possibilities rather than gloom and doom. So as Jolie said, my name is Laura Rosenthal, and I'm a volunteer with the Pachamama Alliance. Normally, I present a full 1 hour or 2 hour workshop, which I've given about 30 times. So today is just a little teaser as an overview. I'll be happy to give a full workshop for Sunrise HOCO later on. It includes a PowerPoint, videos, handouts, and small group discussions. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides to give you an idea about Drawdown. One moment. All right, can you all see the slides?
We can see it.
Okay, great. So first of all, the definition of drawdown is the point in time when the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere peak and begin to decline on a year-to-year basis. Drawdown is also the name of a book, which is Drawdown, the Most Comprehensive Plan to Reverse Global Warming, edited by Paul Hawken and a team of 200 scientists. They propose 100 solutions, which if done together, will reverse global warming by 2050. Please understand that slowing or stopping emissions or carbon dioxide emissions is not enough. We have to actually get below zero. We must draw down CO2 from the atmosphere using natural processes which involve photosynthesis, such as farming, gardening, tree planting, composting, etc. And you can learn more, as you can see here, at www.drawdown.org. The two major points of the Drawdown workshop are, first, there is a true possibility of reversing global warming, and second, each of us has a very important role to play. So here are the 100 solutions. It's a little blurry, but they're listed by sector. As you can see, there's land use, energy, food, transport, materials, women and girls, and buildings and cities. And you can also find the same information on a handout. You can see on the bottom, I've written it tinyurl.com/HOCO drawdown. Now I'm going to show you the actual handout that I'm talking about. One moment. Just give me a moment to get there. Where's modern technology when you need it? Okay.
Or can you share your screen again?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to bring up the handout and then I'm going to share my screen again.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
So here you go. So here's the actual handout. Can you see it now? Can you see it now? It shows you, as I said, on the front side is the Drawdown Solutions, all 100 by sector. And then on the back, it shows all of the Drawdown Solutions by overall rank in terms of their impact in reversing global warming. So you can see some of the first ones are refrigerant management, wind turbines, reducing food waste, plant-rich diet, and so forth. Okay. So. All right, so it's important to remember that all of the solutions are important. You can't just pick the top 10 and stop. You also should not adopt only personal lifestyle changes. That type of response is important, but it's not sufficient to the scale of the problem. As Paul Hawkins says, if we just turn off our lights, recycle our cans, and bring cloth bags to the store, we're all toast. So drawdown solutions can be implemented at 4 levels of action, which are personal, community, systemic, and legislative. The Pachamama Alliance encourages us to focus on the community level. They feel that personal changes are too small and legislative solutions are too slow. So I want to illustrate a solution. It's not actually one of the 100 solutions, but it can be implemented at 4 levels. And I want to show you that as an example. And it's plastic straws. So follow me along with me. So personal, you could stop using plastic straws. You could encourage your family and friends to refuse a straw in the restaurant. Have any of you started doing that? It's something to think about. Second, with plastic straws on a community level, you could ask your church to stop using plastic straws. In Greenbelt, we have a local restaurant that has stopped using straws. Can you think of a restaurant in Colombia that maybe you could ask them to stop using plastic straws? Now, on a systemic level, what if a restaurant chain like the Red Lobster stopped using plastic straws? Someone would need to contact the CEO. Maybe Pat Hersey, who's on here tonight from Less Plastics Please, would want to contact a CEO. And she will be presenting later on about fracking and again tomorrow about plastic. Now, what if the restaurant supply stores that Red Lobster purchases from stop selling plastic straws because the restaurants were no longer buying them? Then one of the restaurant supply stores told the plastic straw manufacturers that their customers no longer want plastic straws. And they're asking for compostable straws. So then the manufacturers would have to start producing compostable straws. Now, finally, we would have the legislative level. This would involve passing a law to ban plastic straws. Believe it or not, we have such a law in Prince George's County banning plastic straws. A similar bill did not pass this year in the Maryland General Assembly, and we'll have to try again next year. So here are a few of the drawdown solutions that could be implemented or are being implemented at the local level here in Howard County. So one would be reducing food waste in grocery stores. Has anyone talked to David's Natural Market? That would be an idea. Or installing electric vehicle charging stations at churches or in shopping malls. Do you know of any EV charging stations have been installed near you? What about Moms on Route 175 in Jessup? I know that Moms in College Park already has an EV charging station. We also have one by our Greenbelt Municipal Building. Here's another idea, bike to school or bike to work campaign. Who organized them in Howard County? Just find out who that is. Compost pickup, which you already have in Howard County. Do they pick up on your street yet? It all depends on which trash route you're on. What about starting a restaurant that offers a plant-based diet or a vegan diet? Oh, you have great sage. They're already doing that. Next, we putting solar panels on your house, your church, your school, or your county buildings. I think CA, the Columbia Association, has already put solar panels on their buildings, right? And many of you testified at the Howard County Council, and the county will be installing panels on the courthouse, the landfill, and farmland. Where else? There's also community solar, where 1,000 people can purchase solar electricity from a huge joint solar array or solar farm. So in a minute, Robin and Armando will be explaining about that. So I know it's a long list, and remember, no one is asking you to tackle them all. It's just the one that interests you, and then you go for it. So feel free to contact me. My contact information is on the bottom of the flyer that I showed you before, tinyurl.com/HOCO drawdown. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share.
Thanks, Laura. Jolie, are you gonna jump in?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Next up are Armando and Robin with Neighborhood Sun. As sales manager at Neighborhood Sun, he's excited that solar energy can finally be brought to the scale we need and drastically reduce CO2 emissions. Robin brings a rich combination of experience to Neighborhood Sun with over 20 years in training, marketing, event planning, and nonprofit programming and entrepreneurship. I will hand it over to Armando and Robin.
Thank you. Thanks, Jolie. So Armando, pop up the PowerPoint, please. Great. So thanks, Laura. That was great to hear about Drawdown Movement. I've recently been getting into it. I took the class and the 5-session action group, and it's very inspiring. So one of the solutions of Drawdown, as Laura mentioned, is community solar. We're working in Maryland and New Jersey now to clean up the environment using community solar. So our mission, you can switch over, Armando. Our mission is to ensure that everybody has access to clean energy, and our energy is local. With community solar, you can get your share of a solar farm and get the benefits of community solar delivered right to your home with no rooftop panels, no additional cost, and no hassle. Next slide. So instead of being a corporation or a nonprofit, we're right in the middle, and we combine both of these into one. So we're the highest standard of doing good that a company can do. We have standards that we have to meet. We have to do certain volunteer work. There's a whole list of standards. I recommend that you look into B Corps because they're amazing, and we're really proud to be one of them. It's local energy that's good for the planet, empowers and builds community. At Neighborhood Sun, we built our first customer advisory board, which Armando will tell you more about later. And our new mission, our mission that we have been working on is to offer community solar to historically marginalized communities. And that means some of the people who are low and moderate income, and that they're the ones who are most impacted by climate change and injustices. So we're really happy to be able to offer solar to them. Next slide. I think you are up. I'm going to hand it over to Armando now.
Thank you, Robin. Am I unmuted? Do you hear me? Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, Robin, for the introduction. At Neighborhood Sun, we think that clean energy and interconnecting more clean energy in the local grid is very critical in order to avoid runaway climate change. thanks for the introduction for the drawdown. Solar is definitely among the solutions to avoid the worst of climate change. And when we look at Maryland, we see that 29% of our greenhouse gas emissions are due to electricity and the electricity sources we currently use. We need to green the electricity supply, and what we do in Neighborhood Sun, we do that by providing a local and affordable clean energy option. So this is what I'm talking about when we say the emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions in Maryland. We are taking care definitely of this part of the pie chart, the 29% of electricity usage, but over time, transportation, which will have hopefully more and more electric vehicles on the road rather than consuming gasoline, will switch over to electricity consumption. So transportation is now carrying a 34% of greenhouse gas emission as it burns gasoline. As their electricity source will be powering the transportation sector, we'll have more and more greenhouse gas emission for electricity use, unless we convert it over to cleaner electricity. And right now, we have a lot to do. We definitely have a lot to do, because about 88% of all the sources in Maryland come from either natural gas, coal, or nuclear. And the reminder, it's only a tiny split between hydropower, solar. Solar energy currently has about 3% of the overall electricity. And wind and biomass I don't consider it sustainable either. So yeah, as we bring transportation over to the electricity sector, because that's how it's going to be powered in the near future, we definitely need to have more and more wind and solar plugged into the grid. Yeah, so what is community solar and why does it matter in the whole scheme of things is, well, I'll be going over some graphs, just bear with me, but I'm just trying to make a point that we're not going as fast as we should, basically here. We see that solar is increasing in the general annual addition of new electricity capacity in the country, in overall all over the US, with 2019 and 2016 being their best years, but still not improving as much as we should, as fast as we should. And still natural gas still adds a big chunk of the overall electricity generating capacity, with 2018 really having more than 50% in the overall mix. And just last year was still 30%. And the previous years wasn't that much different. So we have a lot of frac gas, for example, in our grid that we need to convert. And when we look at all the solar installations, it definitely increased, but not as quickly as we should. This is the cumulative solar installations. I can give a little bit of timeline. Neighborhood Sun was founded here in 2016, and there were about 40 gigawatt of solar. Since then, we doubled it up, with 2019 being 80. But it is definitely not as fast to add only 10 gigawatt of solar. As we see, it's just about a third of the overall capacity. 2020 is an estimate number, which may be changing also for due to COVID-19, for example. Last graph, I promise, is the growth of community solar. Community solar is, I will be delving into more a little bit in how it works in Maryland. But you see that 2016, 17, 18, and 19 have been years with more added capacity of community solar project, which is the yellow part of the bar. Some states have decreased the installed capacity, which have historically driven the sector. And some new states, though, has entered the game. So new states like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Illinois have entered now the game of community solar, and that offset part of the fact that community solar programs that historically have driven the market have dwindled now, have decreased their installations. Overall, we have enough power to supply electricity to 140,000 households through the community solar model. And there are 19 states plus Washington, D.C. that allow for community solar programs. So it's definitely something that is ramping up that gives us hope, although it's not quite as quick as we want it. Another thing that I want to share with you guys, with all of you guys, is resources that are available online to understand the real benefit and the power of community solar. The Institute for Local Self-Reliance, for example, has been advocating for a long time. It's been researching about all the benefits of community solar, has developed several different really nimble tools to understand what we're talking about. And the bottom line with all of these, that, you know, once you look into these, what you really came out of is that we are able to divest from fossil fuels and enabling us to reinvest, because community solar is really a tool for energy democracy in different ways, but primarily in making sure that there is a just and equal transition away from fossil fuels. And at the same time, we can empower local efforts to clean the electricity supply, to empower local communities to clean their own electricity supply. So that's the two key benefits of community shared solar. A few words about the Maryland program. What is happening in Maryland? The program has been established in the States in 2017. With the first project that is actually being launched in 2018, and it has then expanded very recently. The capacity that is allocated to community solar project within the overall electricity grid would be enough to power at least 50,000 Maryland homes. So it's not, you know, we are millions in Maryland, so we definitely need more. It's just a first step, basically. What is also really good about the program, though, is that it allocates a specific portion of its capacity to low to moderate income households. So everyone can take part in it, but not only make sure that there is some capacity allocated to less affluent households, Maryland has also backed it up with the grants from the Maryland Energy Administration. And so it ensures that low and moderate income households not only have access, but have access to better terms and deeper discounts through these grants. So it's really good because not all states, not all the 19 states that I talked about earlier, that I mentioned earlier, have actually these extra grants, the financial means to give better terms. And I'll hand it over back to Robin.
Thank you. So it used to be that everyone could get solar on their roof. And now all the people that could get solar have pretty much gotten solar. And there's still people who can't get solar on their roof because they're a renter, a condo owner, they're in an apartment, they might have an unsuitable roof. They don't want to spend the money, they don't want to mess up their roof. I know with our house, we didn't want to do that. It's expensive to put solar on your roof. And a lot of people have a lot of trees around them. So first thing people say to me when I say this is on a farm off site, they say, I can't put solar on my roof. And so it's really a big point to get people to understand that this is not on their roof. And that's what's so exciting about it. So anyone can participate if you have a BG&E bill or a bill in your town. For the sake of Howard County, it's going to be BG&E. So the next slide. So basically, it's a solar farm that looks like this. And each of you who would subscribe, like the Martinezes, the Skolnicks, the Hansleys, would get a share based on how big their apartment or house is. And then we allocate a number of solar panels to cover their usage. We look at usage for a couple years, and then we figure out how many solar panels we'll use for your bill. And each farm can cover a lot, hundreds of households. So that's what's really exciting. We can clean up the grid really quickly this way. Next slide. So basically, the thing to understand is that the electricity is going into the grid. It's off-site and not on your roof. You can see the first image. And it goes into the grid, and then you get solar credits on your bill. So there's nothing to do with your house. There's no charge, and it's really a win-win for everybody. So the bill that you get is going to be 10% to 25% less than what you pay BG&E, and we can get into that later if you're in touch with us, we can explain that in more detail. Next slide. So we started in Fort Washington, Prince George's County, and then we moved into Dogwood. So our first project called the Panorama Landfill I thought it was about 1,200 homes were covered at that time. And the great thing about that is it's covering a landfill, so that the land wouldn't have been used for anything else. So that's really exciting. Then we have our Dogwood project that recently got filled. That's the one I'm in. And then now we just finished up White Marsh, and we have 3 more projects that are soon to be filled. And then we have a couple more in the pipeline. And the more that we can get people subscribed, the more projects we can get, and we just keep filling them up. So it's kind of a ongoing process. Next slide. This is my favorite part, not just because I made the slide, but this is the why of what we're doing. And first of all, we have to look at from the beginning, we need to get community solar subscribers committing to do this in order for the farms to be built. The developers that we work with need to see that there's interest before they can begin investing. And these are really large projects. So it's a big investment for them. And for each farm that's built, it provides clean energy to hundreds, sometimes thousands of residents over a 20-year lifespan. And I want to have you imagine what a hot air balloon looks like, because it's huge. So basically, one person that subscribes will take the CO2 from 10 hot air balloons and take that out of the grid. That will be out of the environment, so we'll all be breathing cleaner air. And 27,300 miles driven is how much one subscriber takes off the road, out of the grid, 12,000 pounds of coal. In addition, we try to plant pollinator plants around the solar panels. So that also will help beneficial insects and bring back native kind of reciprocity. And that's really important for the environment as well, which is a whole nother topic. Also, if any trees do need to be taken down, then we plant native trees in their place. So I think that's it for that slide. And I'm turning it over back to you, Armando.
Thank you, Robin. Awesome. Yeah, so for all subscribers, for anyone who wants to be part of this, I want to make sure that there is more clean energy locally. Subscribing really means that you're just committing to buy the electricity at a guaranteed discounted rate. It's always discounted, it's always going to be discounted every month. It doesn't cost anything to switch and to be part of a project. There is no whatsoever cost. And there is no installation, the same dependability of power. So you always get 24/7 electricity like you always had from the utility. And again, the discount, it's within 10 to 25% every single month. And the range is going to depend whether you are eligible for our income-based program or not. It takes only a few minutes to switch and to sign up. So this is the income-based program. This is the Share Solar Helps Advance Residence Equality program. this is one of the biggest enthusiastic tool that we have, like a really great tool that we have in order to bring energy justice across the board, as we make sure that clean energy is accessible to all. Not only that, we give extra benefits if your household is less affluent. And typically that means that you're also much less responsible for climate change, for greenhouse gas emissions. Historically, that's the case. So you have a lower electricity consumption, you have a lower footprint overall, and you get to have also more of a discount. It's a month-to-month subscription. What that means is literally month-to-month commitment, nothing else. If you need to move out, you'll be moving out, you let us know, and the subscription is done. Someone else will be buying the electricity that you were allocated previously. And so we partner with several organizations, some of which have are Howard County based, and they have invited us over to be part of this presentation. That's Howard County Climate Action and Transition Howard County, and the Emmanuel United Methodist Church. We further their mission by donating to their organization, to their activities, and they promote community solar as something that their congregants, their community, their network can do in order to have a better, lower footprint on the planet. So we have donated more than $30,000 to several dozens of Maryland partners that we have across the state. Please go over to their sign-up page, neighborhoodsun.solar/HOCO-CA or EUMC or THOCO, and discover how community solar will work for your household. That's as simple as that. And Robin just mentioned all the projects we have. New ones we're working in are one in Pepco, Maryland for DC metro area territories, and 2 new ones in the BG&E, Baltimore Gas and Electric territory. We currently are enrolling for a Baltimore Gas and Electric project, as well as the Potomac Edison, 2 Potomac Edison actually project, one in Frederick County and one in Allegheny County. Yep, and so here's the takeaway messages from us. Buying clean energy definitely help reduce our impacts on the environment, and it does so locally with an additional solar project to the current grid. You're subscribed to something that wouldn't happen if you were not for your choice. If it was not for your choice, if it was not for you raising the hands and say, I want to do something really good for the environment, I really want to go green locally, that project would not exist. We need a commitment from subscribers. You'll be able to divest from fossil fuels. BG&E will need less coal to be burned, or will be needing less fossil fuels from fracked natural gas that we banned in our state, and we'll be able to turn on the solar energy instead. And with Neighborhood Sun, our goal is really to bring together people and to build stronger communities. So we have our neighbor benefit fund, for example. We dedicate 1% of our revenues to it in order to help those neighbors that are in difficulty with paying their bills. We partner with civic groups, like I mentioned before, those that are located in Howard County and others. And we're a B Corp. What that means is really we walk the walk in terms of sustainability and community building, and we strive for full transparency and accountability at all times. And these are our contact details. And that's it. I will be able and very happy to take any call, any questions. Thanks a lot.
Hi, Armando. Actually, I had a question. So
Yeah.
how do you recommend is the best way for Sunrise as a movement and just individually for us to promote community solar in our communities and just encourage more people to join on to it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely doing something like these events, it definitely helps in spreading the word, and work your personal contacts, because it might very well be that people may want to do something, they want to advance such model, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where to start, and sometimes it's just a simple, here's a contact details. Here's the website where you should go into. Contact this person. Contact Robin. Contact Armando. They will be walking you through it. And
So
yeah, now in these times of COVID-19, it's a lot of webinars and virtual events. Just being connected with people as we're able.
So we also, I'm not sure who asked the question, but we have a packet that we've created that's about 10 pages long, has videos in it. It's a PDF. We can send that to anybody who's interested, and they can forward that to your list, your contacts, and that's a great way to spread the word.
Yeah.
All right, we would definitely love that. Our second question is, how does Maryland compare to other states in community solar capacity?
Great question. Yeah. So Maryland is in the middle, I would say. I would say it's in the middle. There are definitely states that allocate more capacity to community solar. I can think of New York. I can think of Massachusetts. For example, they are somewhat, the leaders in terms of innovation for the electricity sector. So Maryland is in the middle also in general for solar capacity installed. It has about 3% of the overall capacity, which is also the same percentage of solar energy interconnected with the grid nationwide. So it's, we are in the middle. And the good thing is, though, that there is a big density of households here, because there are a couple of big cities or dense urban areas more than in other places, and we can definitely serve those households as they don't have access to a roof because they're in a condo, because they're in an apartment, or they are shaded, just like Robin mentioned. So it's great to serve this population with highly urbanized areas.
All right. Our next question is, does Neighborhood Sun sell the SLR ECs? If so, can subscribers genuinely count their portion of the solar against their personal carbon footprint?
So SRECs are a little bit different from what the on-bill credits are. I wish I had a slide on these, but I don't. So let me just say that SRECs is something that basically is sold on the utility market for the utility to comply with the renewable portfolio standards of the state. So Maryland has a renewable portfolio standard that says by 2030, we must have 14.5% of all the electricity generated by solar energy. And in order to achieve that goal every single year, the utility, BG&E, Pepco, will have to buy a little bit of those SRECs from solar installations that are across the states, anywhere, whether there is a small rooftop or the big commercial installation on targets, or the big field. So SRECs is not exactly the same as on-bill credits. What the customers, what a subscriber gets with the Maryland Public Service Commission regulated program of community solar, you get on-bill credits. You get credits that is a rebate, act as a rebate onto your bill, onto your utility bill, while the SRECs is going to be sold to the utility, basically, that needs to achieve that portfolio standard. So it's a little bit different type of credit, so to speak.
All right. I think that concludes our questions. Jolie, can you take it away?
Oh yeah. All right. So next up, we have Pat Hersey, the co-founder of Less Plastic Please, who will be talking about fracking plastics. Pat?
Yes, hi. Oh, my video's stuck.
Hi, Pat.
That's weird because like, wait, let me try to stop video.
It's just spinning.
That's weird. Can you at least share screen?
There. Do you see it?
It's working.
It's working? Okay, great. All right, so yes, my name is Pat Hersey, and I'm co-founder of Less Plastic Please. We're an organization, very grassroots, that just was sick of plastic and wanted to do something about it. First, I want to say it's great to be with so many great activists, and I got to give a shout out to the Sunrise HOCO. They are rock stars. So this presentation is called Fracking Plastic. We know that plastic is made from fossil fuel byproducts. It's suffocating the marine life. It's polluting our land, our water. Humans are literally eating, drinking, and breathing plastic. It's everywhere with nowhere to go. But that's only part of the problem, because the other part is where it starts. It starts with fracking. Oh. It's not going. Okay, so imagine if you lived here in idyllic countryside home in Western Pennsylvania, let's say. You wake up and the birds are singing, and at night the stars are popping out. Perfect, except for one flaw. It's sitting on shale. Shale is the rock that holds the gas and oil. It was once thought to be impermeable, but now we found fracking. Sorry about this. Wow, I'm having trouble. I apologize. Well, let me just move on. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Pat.
Doesn't want to. Like doesn't want to go.
Pitfalls of technology.
Are you using the arrow keys? I think that would help.
Well, that's what I was trying to. Oh, here they weren't working before. All right, it's not going in order.
Hmm.
All right. Well, so fracking, or hydraulic fracturing, is defined as the process of injecting liquid called slick water at a pressure of 9,000 pounds per square inch into shale to extract the oil and gas. And that sounds innocent enough, except the reality is the fossil fuel industry is using half-truths and lies right out of the tobacco playbook. So the first step is cutting down the trees. The average frac pad uses 5 acres. Let me see if I can get the right one. Nope. And what's wrong with deforestation? The trees act like sponges for CO2. Deforestation contributes to climate change. Once the trees are cut, the carbon is released. And of course, once the trees are cut, they can't absorb any more CO2. Deforestation also impacts the water cycle. Waters absorb The trees absorb the rainwater. In the Amazon, 1/2 of the water is held in plants. Deforestation also leads to soil erosion, flooding, and landslides. So once they cause a deforestation, they have the trucks. Between 400 and 2,000 trucks are used for each well. There's pump trucks, mixer trucks, sand cans, chemical trucks, and storage trucks. Let's see if this works. And they all damage the roads. So this is the drill. They drill 1 mile down and 2 miles horizontally. And that blue line there is the groundwater. So they drill right through the groundwater. They drill for 3 to 5 days for each well, 24 hours a day, day and night. So you have the noise pollution and the light pollution. 5% of all wells fail. That's an average of 55 spills per 1,000 wells. To minimize groundwater contamination, all drills should be encased in cement. Only 66% are entirely encased. And how do you get it out? First, they use a mixture of sand, water, and chemicals. The sand is called silica sand. As they mine this sand, it can lead to silicosis, which is a lung disease, which can lead to cancer. The chemicals that they actually use to clean the sand for the slick water can actually cause cancer. This container holds 1.6 million gallons of water. Each drill requires 5 to 8 million gallons of water. That is the daily consumption of 65,000 people. The chemicals they use are from benign to known carcinogens. And what they don't tell you is that they use what they call the Halliburton loophole. It exempts them from parts of the Clean Water Act, which includes stormwater runoff. And they always say that there's only 1% of the chemicals. The rest is water. Well, in the water business, contaminations are measured in parts per billion. Typically 10 to 50 parts per billion. 1% equals 10 million parts per billion. 1 million times more concentrated than allowed in drinking water. You would think that if chemicals shouldn't be allowed in groundwater, it shouldn't be allowed in the ground. And there's more than oil and gas that are liberated from this. At least 4% of methane escapes. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas with global warming potential 104 times more than CO2 in the first 20 years. And the toxicities, these are just a few. Toxic water, radioactivity, heavy metals, radon, benzene. To get put in perspective, one well can produce 1 million gallons of wastewater. And to create 1 barrel of oil, it takes 10 barrels of wastewater. And this water cannot be reused. It is out of the natural water cycle completely. So that increases the cost of water, and it decreases the water available for irrigations. So what do they do with it? They either leave it in evaporation ponds or they inject it back into the ground. And of course it can contaminate in that area around these evaporation pools. They have contaminated air, they have acid rain, they have ground level ozone, which can cause asthma, increased blood pressure, anemia, heart attacks, and cancer. So time does not allow me to address the other impacts of fracking, like earthquakes, explosions, volatile organic compounds, decreased home values, and detrimental developments. So where do we go from here? Right now, plastic is the major driver of the fossil fuel industry. The coronavirus, combined with the oil price war, is about to trigger the largest monthly drop in US fracking industry. So this is a moment to pause, to decide to go backwards or forwards. Let's fight to go forwards. And here are just a few things that you can do that can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. That was awesome to hear. Definitely learned a lot.
Thanks.
Yay.
Right. Lastly, for our final art submission of the day, Maeve Rose Goldstein. Maeve Rose is 27 years old, and she has an abiding love for art and graduated from Hood College, and believes that this cause is very important because not only is it important, but it's important for people to know how much of an impact you're doing by supporting fracking. Okay. So I believe that we are all finished up here. So thank you for joining our live stream today at the 12 p.m. call live stream and the 7 p.m. one. So thank you for all of our people who attended and who presented. We are very grateful that everyone came out today and was able to present efficiently. So tomorrow we will have 2 live streams again at the same time. One at 12 to 1 p.m. and one at 7 to 8 p.m.